Okay, let's just wait for a few people to arrive. Hey Mike, how you doing there? You're gonna get votes for being the most loyal watcher. Have you played this? Hey Brian, how are you doing? Just gonna let a couple of people join in and oh yeah, Mike. My boys will live till the next birthday. Well, it was close, but they're gonna be fine. Sometimes tough love is hard to give out. So anyway, all right. I'm gonna grab my cocktail, and then I thought I'd walk people through a little bit of this in terms of some sort of broad game concepts. And hey, Bill, how you doing, man? Some broad game concepts, some of the victory conditions that I've been able to discern so far, and what the map looks like, and kind of just get a feel for it. It's going to be a couple of weeks before I actually get to play, just because of the number of counters, and the learning curve here is reasonably steep, although it is similar to games I've played before. So, hey Kyle, welcome. So I hope that this will be kind of a little appetizer for the game, for us to kind of get a feel for some of the systems, and how things might all sort of hang together based on what I know so far. John, how are you doing? So here we go. Let's do this first up. Let's have a look at the map and some of the locations I've got marked, and have a look at some of the air displays and stuff like that. Maybe the turn track. That way I can kind of sip and drink as we go, and then I'll talk you through some of the main system mechanics that I'm aware of, that I understand based on what I've read so far. And and I've also got some articles here that we can kind of refer to and things like that. But the first thing I want to do is for those of you that are not necessarily familiar with the Third World War concepts, or how the European armies were from both sides were kind of laid out. I do have a quick little summary here, and I'd always read about these, North Hag and or North AG maybe, or Centag in books and things. But knowing where the borders were for those, and the cities that mattered and things like that, that was really kind of just an abstract concept for me that I had not really paid a lot of attention to, despite playing many Third World War games. So shame on me. But I thought we might do a quick little recap on what the map area covers, so we can have a look at this. There's basically we're looking at 75% of the map down to here. Below this section here is the Alps, and then maybe the first 50 or 80 or so, maybe 100 kilometers of Italy. So Trieste through Verona and places like that. It's basically the Po River. So the area of operations is the NATO central region: West Germany, Holland, Luxembourg, and Belgium. And that's all under a group that I had not really paid attention to before, called Allied Forces Central Europe, AFCENT. And is the sound okay, by the way? I know it might be a little echoey here because I took some furniture out of this room, and so it's got a little echo, perhaps. Hey, Tony, good to see you, man. Okay, got some people arriving home from football games. Okay, so AFCENT broken up into two groups. Did you say North AG or North Hag? Or Norhag, maybe. And Centag. Split the defense of Germany. And basically that's this line here. So from Kassel to Köln, that is Now, is Cologne, is that modern day or current time Cologne? Or is it Cologne? Is it a different city? I wonder. I think that is modern day Cologne. It's on the Rhine River. Makes sense. So this span here represents the north and central. I don't know if you can see. Whoops! If you can see that there. There's the line. There's the white line from my bright fluorescent light. So we've got that going for us. Oh, that's funny, Kyle. That makes me feel awkward. Okay, so that basically splits the defense of Germany in two very different sets of terrain too. Obviously, we know that the northern parts of Germany up into Belgium and Holland are open terrain and lots of canals and lots of rivers and all that sort of good stuff. So it makes for great tank maneuver country, lots of high-speed penetration opportunities here, kind of from the Weser to the west. And in the Sentag region, we of course have what everybody knows as the Fulda Gap here. It's the city of Fulda, or a town. Is that a town or a city? I believe that's a town. So the town of Fulda, and then there's the Hof area here. And so if you've looked at the Central Front series, you've seen me play BAOR up here, and we put that together with the Fulda and Hof Gap to create, a kind of a central, kind of a mini version of this. And this is the kind of the terrain is very channeling actually when you look at it. So you've got this rough 1 terrain, rough 2 terrain, and quite different from Third World War. Third World War has this being almost, it's rough, but there's very much less, my son has decided to start working out downstairs. That's interesting. Here take a peek. This is one of the ones that got into trouble last night. There he is. Maybe he's punching out his aggression. Now he's punching harder because he saw me lift the camera up. So this terrain is a lot rougher, it seems, in the Third World War series than this series. So I'm not sure what that's about. Now, of course, the West German border runs all the way to the Czech or the Czechoslovakian border. So we're setting up in around here. In fact, here we go. Here's the rougher terrain that I was thinking about. So rough 2, rough 1. That makes a bit more sense. I was a little disoriented as to where I was. I was running down this way. But here's Nuremberg here, and Munich or München just here, and you've got your border here. So the U.S. forces will be setting up somewhere around here, and secondary lines of defense probably along this river, the main river, or Marne. Some people call it that as well, depending on who you are and what country, city, state you come from. Okay, so all the red tokens or cubes you can see on the map refer to cities that are worth 5 or more victory points, and some of them are worth 30. Obviously, West Berlin is worth 30, I believe, and East Berlin is worth 20. There's, if you capture the capital of Czechoslovakia, you get some points for that. That's only, of course, if the West is doing really well. Clearly, if this goes how I expect it will go, I can't see how that could possibly happen. I did pop a tweet, I guess, to Mark Herman the other day, asking him about weapons systems, the M1, the Warthog, the A-10, and one of the Bradley fighting vehicles, and asked him if these were included in the game or factored into the game. And I didn't really get a straight answer. He said it was designed in the 78, 79 time frame with those forces in mind, and all the vehicles and equipment I was talking about was planned. So I didn't get a sense of whether or not those vehicle types and weapons platforms were actually included in the game. The reason why I asked the question is because in one of the OBs it refers to the XM1 tank vehicle, tank platform, which became the M1 Abrams, and I assumed that because the information was in there, that maybe these were being represented in the game. That said, there were both 70s and 80s OBs, and I was unclear as to exactly what period of time we're looking at. And in fact, I bet you it's in the scenario. I can probably see there. I haven't just had a detailed look at that yet. I've been focused on rules, systems versus anything else. Okay, so I guess I'm cool. I guess you could say that I am waffling on at this point. Let me just check the campaign rule here. Does it give a date? No, it doesn't. It does. There are 2 or 3 different campaign scenarios. There's the Sudden War, the Spring Maneuvers War, and the tension scenario. So there's the gradual build up. I'm not sure which one we'll choose. I might put that up to a vote with you folks, and we'll see what happens from there as we get closer to physically setting the game up. Yeah, it's a good point, Ryan. Just the American forces had a longer line to defend. It was a much easier line to defend, but that was a NATO construct that kind of enforced that upon this. Yeah, good luck. Now, who's Perfidious Albion? I have not seen you here before, have I? Okay. Let's see. I'm just having a quick look at the situation briefing here to see if there's anything else we want to check out that's worth. It talks about Centag's area of responsibility is 375 miles long versus about a 250 mile range for other things. Yeah, for the North Atlantic group. So let's see. Yeah, I think that's probably it there. Okay, so let's have a look at these victory conditions, the victory areas. These are more secondary. 5 points. These might be 5 points, I think, not 15. Oh no, actually these are 10. These are all 10s. Lots of ports up here that I haven't marked that are worth a lot of VPs as well up in the northern region. I couldn't find all of them. I'm still not familiar with the map yet. Some of the names led me to believe they were more in the Eastern European area, which, based on the fundamental design premise here, I feel like this is a battle that the Soviets are more than likely going to win, unless we are indeed factoring in some of the 80s platforms. So we'll see how the game balancing has been fiddled with, as the case may be. Frankfurt, I'll tell you about these. We'll come back to these two cubes in a minute because they're important and they have to do with the air war, and then we can kind of go at it from there. All right, the games. Let's have a look at this up here. All of these are airfields with a hex reference and the type of aircraft that can be serviced. That's going to be fun. And that's why I wanted to show you these 2 hexes here, because these are the only 2. Can you see the second one? Right here. Okay, these are the only 2 airfields on the board that can repair damaged F-111s. There are many places you can repair F-4s. There are many places you can repair the G91s and the F-104s and the Mirages and all that sort of stuff, but they're the only 2 locations that you can repair F-111s, and they're a fairly feisty aircraft in this game. And in fact, as I'm looking at this here, these airfields, You know what I'm not seeing? I'm not seeing A10s represented. So I do believe that this is a Oh no, here it is. Here's A10s here on the left. Right, that would be another one that we would want to make sure that we protected that airfield as the Allies, as the NATO player. Wherever there was an A10 field, they would be critical. So and that's Ramstein as well. So that's one of the fields that we were talking about. And let me see, what was the other one? 77 right next to it. A10s as well. So F111s, A10s, F15s can all be repaired there. So they become very important locations. So let's see. What did I want to show you or talk to you a little bit more about here? Yeah, Patrick, hang on one second. I think this is set in the late 70s. It is not an 85 era game at all. And sorry for the squeaky chair as well. Here's, so let's kind of just summarize out a couple of different things. One of the things, so it's 3 maps, basically stretching from Denmark to Italy. There's a little extension that goes over on the right-hand side for part of Hungary and part of Poland. NATO forces are all pretty much brigade level until they can be combined into divisions. All of the Soviet forces pretty much start out as division level units. Each division has 4 brigades, although there are some that have 2. And you look at it, there's almost a 2-to-1 superiority in forces for the Soviets when it comes to division count. Let's see. Yeah, it's interesting that there's an article here suggesting that despite the fact that it's only 2-to-1 odds, that this does not mean that the Soviets cannot win. It does mean they have to attack carefully and decide where to mass their forces. In the army, once you get all the reinforcements and stuff, I think it bumps up to nearly 2.5-to-1 in terms of the force mix. Yeah, good point, Tony. I would agree with you on that. yeah. Here's my nuke. No doubt that will happen at some point. Yes, I'm gonna have to tape that down there. That's warping up there. All right, so 99% of all the Soviet units are obviously a combination of mechanized infantry and armor. You're all aware of all that sort of good stuff. The air war is a particularly intense exercise, and in fact, it's a 3-layered game almost unto itself. The Warsaw Pact starts out with 206 units. And a bunch of helicopters, probably 20 or 30 helicopters, and the NATO only has 114, but they do have 61 air units. The air units, 61 helicopters. Helicopters are very fragile in this game. There's no damage to them. They're either killed or they're safe. Let's see. Each air unit represents a squadron of aircraft. And what happens here is that you place your, let me move this notes booklet. You place your air units down in each air sector for air superiority. Now let's do it here where you can see it. I'm going to have to get some water. Air superiority, intercept, and ground support, or just drink more. I think ragweed season is coming. And you put down groups of 3 units. Let's see. Groups of 3 units in each. And your opponent does the same thing. I've got the other chart down there. Instead of having it over here, I've got the other chart there. And then each group of units So 10 fights 10, 9 fights 9, 8 fights 8, etc., etc. And then depending on who wins the air superiority war, those units will then drop down into the intercept area. And the intercept area can then be used to intercept ground support units that have been allocated earlier on in the cycle. So that's going to be very interesting to see how that plays out. I think it's going to take a lot of time. I was toying with the idea of just ripping out the Third World War air war game and plonking it down in this, and I don't know that I can do that unless I have a much harder look at the sequence of play here and what's actually occurring. This might actually be kind of fun to do, so I'm not going to shortchange the experience there. So we'll see, right? It remains to be seen how we handle that. These, then there's these holding boxes I showed you earlier on. Although they're very tiny, some of them have up to 50 units in a holding box. So what else we got here? So that's some of the air war. There is a very large naval system that has 12 turns for every single turn of the game here. It's a 2-day game cycle sequence. That's all optional. I don't know that we're going to use that. I may just come up with a way to work out who is successful in the naval war and then allow or disallow any marine invasions or amphibious landings or anything like that. Soviet war, Warsaw Pact starts out with a nearly 2-to-1 ratio there as well. Let's see. What else is particularly interesting here that you might get your kicks out of? There's been a lot of controversy over the combat system, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. But the game basically revolves around a movement allocation that, let's move over here to something more interesting to look at for you guys. Revolves around a movement point allocation where the more evolved sister game, NATO Division Commander, has the same system where you get a number of movement points, and with those movement points you move your entire force, that single unit, and you combat with it once, one or more times, and each combat costs movement points, so very similar to the Central Front system as well, in that you will then accrue losses if you're successful. You keep moving and doing stuff. You can move in a multiple modes, whether it be tactical, from which you can launch an attack, road, or as a third mode as well. I think it's called some sort of strategic movement mode, but that doesn't sound right. That's not the word I want to use. It's road, tactical, and there's one other. Nevertheless, so movement and combat are all combined into one phase. There's no movement costs to enter zones of control. There is a cost to initiate combat. Then as I said, you keep on cranking along. So it's kind of like it's kind of incorporating into one phase the Panzergruppe Guderian exploit phase, kind of building that all into that secondary movement phase, all combined into one thing. What else do I want to drop a note on here that I've got written down for you? Obviously defensive positions can be created. Movement allowances are very significant too, because you can actually push your units to move a lot further, and they can move up to 50 points in a game turn potentially, depending on the type of movement you choose to conduct and whether or not you're prepared to accept a fatigue result, which is going to impose negative effects upon you in the combat phase of in the combats that you conduct. All right. Let's see here. Now, there's another thing that obviously folks who've played the game will be aware of the CRT and the issues with the CRT. There's a swag of DRMs that go into resolving a combat. Let's see if I can find some of the lists for you. No, there's not a comprehensive list. We're going to have to dig through all this in the rules. That's going to be awesome. Oh, here we go. Here's some. So here you can see the combat effects of terrain, but as I mentioned, fatigue will affect you, supply will affect you, whether you're a Soviet unit conducting a wave attack, which is you declare that up front and you advance a unit into the hex that you wish to attack, or adjacent to the hex you want to attack it. It ends its turn, and then the next guy comes in and he attacks, and then the next guy comes in and he attacks. And there's benefits to doing that, but you do have to move a certain minimum number of movement points and all that sort of stuff to actually be eligible to achieve that bonus. And you may trigger fatigue level changes for that activity. Sometimes in the CRT, if we look at the CRT here, you will see, now I was told or read that the DRMs, you can see it goes from -3 on 2d6 die roll to +19. That's a very, very wild or deep swing in or modifiers in a set of results that run from 2 to 12, which is 11 results, right? So it's now got 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 24 results. And if you look on the bottom right-hand side there, you'll see that some results, it's not a linear progression. You'll see there's all these skewed results where you might get a better result attacking at 5 to 1 than you do at 6 to 1. And A2 is bad, by the way. That means you're losing 2 steps. But at 5 to 1, you get a contact. So there's all sorts of kind of squirrely things with that. There are folks that have tried to replicate this statistical model that's been represented here and fix those errors and make that linear. Mark Herman has really not sounded off on that very much that I've been able to see or find from him. All sorts of things happen while you're conducting combat. You can move from cadre to experienced. That can happen, and that may provide a benefit to you in the next attack, of course. Each unit has 3 steps. I think I might have mentioned that to you already. I'm just trying to flip through my notes here and see what else we got. Yeah, and of course, with the typical moving integrated combat in a movement phase, there's the hasty attack mode, there's the regular assault, and there's also disengagement. So if you're being attacked or potentially going to be attacked, as the defender, you can declare a disengagement and you attack the attacker at your 1 to 2 or 1 to 3 odds or whatever it may be, or 1 to 1 odds, and you've got to roll a die and it'll tell you whether or not you're able to disengage. And if you're successful, you can retreat, and if you're not, then you'll have to stand and fight, but you may suffer losses prior to that happening. That could be quite a hairy little experience as well. So there's a lot of very interesting, intricate things going on here. Of course, we have nukes. Of course, we have and nukes are theater-wide. It's not strategic nukes. We're not dropping kilotons on stuff, on people. It's all air and artillery delivered. And my eyes are starting to itch. I must have some sort of allergy. So There's that. Obviously, there's the chemical activity, and that's really a benefit mainly to the Soviets, the Warsaw Pact, because they can choose whether it's persistent or non-persistent. They get to use it first. The Allies can't use it until the enemy uses it. So that is interesting. Let's see what else we got here. Anything I should mention to you? Disengagement. I mentioned that. Accelerated assaults, another interesting concept where if an attack creates a breakthrough zone, it kills the zone of control of the enemy unit you attack, and you can penetrate through, which means you have to keep, rear area security is really going to matter. You can't just leave your core headquarters sitting around by itself, otherwise it could end up dead. And that is a bad thing for supply. It's a bad thing for a whole range of other aspects of the game. It's going to affect your DRMs on defense and all that sort of stuff, and your ability to activate helicopter support and all that sort of good stuff. Let's see. I'm trying to see how much detail I should get into here. There's a lot of stuff here we could share. Any questions? I'm happy to take questions while we're here. Hey, Bruce, Patrick. So, there's commentary here. I'm looking at this article now. There's a commentary here on the naval war. I don't think we need to get into that. Supply. Supply is important because there were these forward supply bases for the Soviets, and there are very few of them, and they have to be able to reach a road or rail hex and then trace the line of supply back to the edge of the map. They'll become targets. There are special forces in this as well, so you can send basically battalion-sized forces and drop them off. Then they come off the map and then move secretly. Love that idea. So lots of good stuff here. So maybe that gives you a quick feel for the game. I was looking. The last thing we'll do here is have a look at the, potentially the force. I guess based on where the VPs are. Here's an interesting little tidbit. This city all the way over here, Copenhagen, it has a different spelling over there. It gets multiple VPs. It's a major city VP, it's a port VP, and a strategic bonus VP location. That single hex is worth about 40 VPs, and there are other hexes on the map that are similar to that. I think that's going to drive a lot of the activity. You need some ridiculous amount of points to be a decisive win. Yeah, so Warsaw Pact decisive win, 600 points. But a substantial win would be 376. So that would be 10% over there, right here. That would be 10% of your victory points that you need if you're able to secure that location. Clearly, I gotta stop saying too. That's kind of lame, isn't it? So I'm expecting, as the Soviet player, Warsaw Pact player, to drive pretty aggressively through this area here. I have read a couple of other AARs that were one that was in particular that was no KIA or something like that. You guys have all probably read that. It's epic AAR. I'm probably going to be sticking with live play, and then I'll be taking some pictures and making some notes, and probably keeping it at that. I won't be doing any narrative stuff. We'll just keep it. We'll keep it at this kind of operational game level and just play the game without getting too caught up in characters and stuff. So I'm looking at potentially focusing in this area here. Clearly, any man worth his salt as a Soviet player has to go try and tackle the Fulda Gap, whether it makes sense or not. Got to do it, right? Because that's got to be awesome. There we go. Bruce, the maps, it's 3 maps. So northern Italy here, Alps, Switzerland, Czechoslovakia, now the the countries of Czech Republic and Slovakia, and Eastern Germany up to Denmark, and away you go. Yeah, everything is brigade sized for the NATO forces and division sized for the Soviet chappies, the Warsaw Pact. So as I mentioned earlier in the video, next probably 2 weeks, unless I get a lot of free time, which, it's just the end of the quarter, so I've actually got a pretty quiet next week or 2 coming up. But I will look to try and get most of this set up, select a scenario, we'll get the rules reading really finished. And we've had a quick skim through several years ago. I had a read of them over the last week, but I was also reading several other rule books at the same time. So we got to kind of distill this down. There's lots of DRMs spread through the rules. We're going to have to pick those up. There are a number of, I'm starting to see already on the map, a number of little errors and issues. There's Bonn here. We moved, this Bonn is a victory point location. Actually, it's a smaller one. But, that city, I think, is, maybe that is the right font. I'll take it back. Where's another city with the same? Yeah, it's okay. It's not. So I'll take it all back. I have no issues. I was going to say there's a few issues here and there, but I think we're fine. All right. Counter density is, let me show you. I guess we probably should have a look at the counters, right? That was kind of dumb of me not to show you. My apologies. So let's start here. Let's get this stuff out of the way. So here we have, just focus for you. So, is that focused? Why is it not? Netherlands, both air and ground forces. So you're looking at brigade level units. The Danes, Danish Air Force, right there. Austrians, United Kingdom forces. This guy here is our Canadian and West German, I should say. US forces that are upside down. You probably can't read those very well, but you can see the aircraft here. You've got, the 7th Corps and 5th Corps and all the stuff you would expect to see. Okay. I wonder if they factored in the absolute awesomeness of the A-10. More units. Who we got here? French, Italians, Austrians. Then, info counters. And then you have Soviet Union, East Germans in black, of course. I don't know why, of course, but, Hungarians, Poles in the bottom right-hand side. There are rules for rebellion and revolt. An upside-down counter sheet of Soviets. This is all flak battalions. I think those curved units are. I forget. And then more Soviets. These are all divisions. So everything is at divisional scale for the Soviets. Tank divisions and then breakdowns. Tank regiments, here they are here. Paratroopers as well, and then more, there are Czechs and Poles here. So it's big, there's a lot of guys. Ryan, I don't know. Maybe they are here. This game is predicated on the fact that this would be a short war, and the Soviets did not have the depth or capability to run a protracted war plan. It runs for a maximum. That is not the holding box. Where is the turn track? Don't tell me there's not a turn track. Oh, son of a bitch, there's not. What the fuck? Okay. Let's see if we can find it in here. The reason why it doesn't have a lot of the second tier stuff, there are reinforcements for the various US forces. I'm just looking here, bear with me. Let's have a look at it together if you want. Let's see if we can find it. Yeah, I don't see anything in terms of timing or length of scenario. I'm sure there's a turn track here somewhere. I probably just haven't seen it. There's a lot of stuff on the map, on the board right now. I see a turn track for the naval battle, so let's see if we can find. Each hex is 17 kilometers too, I do know that. Let's see. Reinforcements. There's a lot of reinforcements. 14.7. I know that that's probably not going to have. Here's the OB here. Here we go. It's a good question. I think we should probably dig into it a little bit. Order of battle. So let's have a look at the US order of battle and see if we can see what's in the game. Yeah. NATO. So, well, they're all nobodies. Let's get over to Great Britain. United States. Here we go. 5th Corps, 7th Corps, Reforger units, Strategic Reserve, which is 101st. Let me zoom in for you. So we've got 101st, 1st Cav, 5th Infantry, some Special Forces stuff, 82nd Airborne, a bunch of air, more reinforcements for air. Reforger includes 1st and 2nd Brigades of 1st Mech, 1st and 3rd Brigades of 2nd Armored. They're all situated at, some of them situated at Texas and Kansas. And all this other stuff is here. So hopefully that gives you a little bit of a look into that. Hey, Greg. Yeah, I'm not sure what it sells for. I had an extra copy and I don't remember what I sold it for. I think I sold it to a friend for not too much, maybe 150. It was punched and sorted. I punched it and sorted it in the whole shooting match. I think this guy's missing one unit. It's missing the Liechtenstein battalion or something, the Prince of Liechtenstein or something like that. All right. So look, that kind of gives you a feel for what the dealio is. Yeah, I think it was $50, Bruce. That sounds about right. I remember when this game came out. I was living in Australia, and we were like, "Oh my gosh, the next war! how awesome would that be? And we couldn't, me and my buddy couldn't afford it, so we bought City Fight, and we liked it so much we both bought a copy, and we had Firefight, and we tried to work out how to get helicopter rules to work so that we could have combined scenarios from Firefight into Girlfingen into, or however you say that, into City Fight. And we never worked it out. I tried real hard. I wasn't much of a game designer, or not, I'm not much of a game anything, but just had the best time playing that. We even set up the huge Vietnam War, where not Vietnam War, where the Chinese invade Vietnam, and it's a two mapper. You set 2 copies of the game up. I think it's 2 maps each, or maybe it's just 1 map. But anyway, there's battalions and battalions and battalions of Chinese. It's awesome fun. Anyway, crazy stuff. And we were looking at this going, man, I wish we could afford to buy that. This would have been awesome. So I'm really psyched to be playing this. And I'm hoping I'll be able to share a cool experience with you. We'll have some fun with it. And I may actually try, once I get some other games out of the way, I may actually try and set up City Fight and play that as well over on the end of the, we'll stick it on the end of the table down there. What else? I think that's it. I'm going to let you guys go. I'm going to go check in on the boys that came home and go hang out with the missus and watch some Longmire. Talk to you soon. Oh, wait, we got questions. Yep, there we go. So we've all got our copies now. A player's copy for 55. Woo! I might go buy that up and corner the market in Next War. All right, guys. You guys have a good night. Talk to you soon. Please, unfortunately, I don't have the ability to really plan too far ahead in terms of when I'm going to get game time. But do know that I will try and give you as much notice as possible for live play. I'm going to put it, all this will end up on YouTube anyway. So you can, if you miss it, don't freak out. You just won't be able to ask questions. Just pop a text, pop a message in later on once you've seen the video. And you can post, I think you can post comments after the fact. But once we get started on this in a couple of weeks, this will be at least once a week. I'll be cranking through half a turn or a turn every time. And I probably will play a little bit of the Air War by myself first, and then 1 or 2 activations for the Soviets just to get started, so I get a feel for things, so it's not an entire disaster while you're watching. Because I do want to play it mostly accurately for you and not, not... I did a live play of OST and played it completely wrong and just deleted it. It was an hour and a half of crap. But anyway, all right, let's see who we got here. Mike, Bruce, everybody, ciao. Talk to you soon.